Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome. Thank you for spending time with us today. We are so glad you're joining us. We have a big crowd coming in from all over to learn what's new with NewsBank in 2026. We're excited to have you here with us and to learn with us. I'm sure calendar notices are just going off. People are still logging in. So as people gather, I'd like to just start with a few housekeeping items as we get up and going. My name is Catherine Bergerson. I am the Vice President of Marketing at NewsBank. I am coming to you from Naples, Florida. Hi. And I am working with India Bradford Jones. She's in the background producing the show. She is in the Atlanta area. You may hear me reach out to her from time to time throughout the session. We are recording this session and we will send out a link to the video following today. The slides that we showed, they are available to download and they are in the handout section. Here's what we're going to cover today. Here is our agenda. The big headline this year is content. More content across more places in more languages and in more formats. I am going to highlight the biggest content additions in our Access World News Research collection for 2026, explain how rolling content means that new titles will arrive throughout the year, and preview key collections and archives that make a real difference for your patrons and students. Then we're going to focus on historical newspaper archives. You have been asking about these and have several important updates for you. Third, we'll talk about the latest in our Life in America collection and introduce you to Immigrant Life in America, which is so timely and relevant. Then quickly, I'll touch on our new military collection and our recently updated genealogy resource, which is called HeritageHub. And it is a lot, but I want to be respectful of your time and your attention spans. So if you have any questions, there are some icons that look like this. If you take a look at your screen, you can open those icons up, type the questions in anytime, and the appropriate NewsBank representative will respond. And also those icons are where you can download this presentation. Okay, that sounds good to everyone. Here we go. So a little bit about how NewsBank serves our users. We are the largest aggregator of news content in the world, and our focus for 2026 is making that breadth and depth even stronger while continuing to partner with you. And I want to do a little plug here because I know it's important to you, it's important to NewsBank, and something that we care about, which is how the content in our resources is sourced. NewsBank licenses our content through publisher agreements. We do not just scrape the web for whatever is out there. We have a professional rights and permissions team that works closely with publishers to ensure partnerships that are fair, vetted, and reliable so that you can feel confident that you're providing credible, responsibly sourced information. And we serve libraries all over the world with sources that are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it's in the library, media center, a coffee shop, your home, wherever your users connect. And we're proud to tell you that we have been a family-owned company for more than 50 years. So that's a bit about us, but the big headline this year that we want to get to is the content. Again, more content across more places and more languages and more formats. We're expanding coverage geographically, strengthening that local and regional depth, adding industry and topical publications, and growing historical news. And that really matters right now because you know it, libraries are doing more than just providing access. You're supporting informed communities, student success, critical thinking, and informed conversations. So when a patron's trying to understand a local issue or a student is building an argument that needs evidence, they need a resource that's deep, credible, and discoverable. So you heard me mention what we call rolling content, and here's what that means in plain terms. Access World News Research Collection and all NewsBank products, this applies to America's News customers as well, rolling content. So instead of waiting for a single annual drop, you'll see new titles and new coverage added throughout the year as soon as it's ready. And honestly, this is something that customers, you asked for, and our publishers asked for it too. So when new content is cleared and prepared, everyone benefits from releasing it right away than waiting for that one annual big drop. So 2026 is not just, a new edition. It's an edition that keeps evolving, it's dynamic, and it's a growing information source. So what this means is that you can fill content gaps. It's not just about more sources, although that is important. It's also about looking for blind spots. What areas can we strengthen, such as the Middle East, China, Africa, what regions in the United States? So if you take a look at this chart, these are some of the top searches. These are the top searches in 2025, broken down by market, academic, community college schools, and public libraries. And you can see what people are searching. Lots of crossover here. Emerging industries, technology, AI, healthcare, the environment. People are really looking up the information on the impact of big policies, economics, tariffs on their local and regional communities for personal reasons. There's business implications and for academic evaluation. And you never know where news is going to happen. So knowing that NewsBank has sources in all 50 US states and territories, and then all around the world, your users can compare how the same story is covered, let's say in New York versus California versus London or the Ukraine or Australia. It helps to identify omissions. Different stories and publications may cover a different angle. It helps to study ideologic, regional, and even ownership bias. We're also expanding industry publications. These are the journals and magazines that support topical, often they're career-focused or subject area research. And these are the kind of sources that can be incredibly valuable for students, faculty, informed community learners, industry workers who want more than just the headlines. They want to kind of deep dive into their area of expertise and interest. We're seeing a really high value for these in growing in our community college market, especially in healthcare and those career-specific publications, getting a lot of requests for information on nursing, health fields, again, technology, the environment, tariffs, agriculture. These topics keep coming up. I couldn't even fit all of the new titles on one page. I just wanted to highlight some of the big names here. Borderless Magazine. We have that now in English and Spanish. Apple World Today, EcoWatch, Agriculture Today. So that's just a few. When it comes to filling in gaps, these industry publications are really spot on. Now I would like let's shift into geographic. What areas are significant content geographically, particularly in the United States? If you take a look at this map, you can find this on newsbank.com, and as you hover over the states, it'll give you a snapshot of titles that are available by state. We're going to start right now in Texas, highlighting one of the big titles that we just rolled out for 2026, and that is the Dallas Morning News. Hooray, I know a lot of people are really excited about that, and that is significant locally, statewide, nationally, for both public libraries, academics, community colleges. We've heard from all of you, and we're thrilled to bring the Dallas Morning News Pulitzer Prize-winning paper back to you. But if you look closer, that's just one of 470 titles in Texas alone. I mean, who can match that? And hyperlocal is becoming more and more important. We're hearing it all over as trust in the big national news it's eroding. But people and communities still trust their local news, and that's what NewsBank delivers. So Texas is just one example. Another state where we really filled in some gaps. Let's take a look now at Utah. We now have the Salt Lake City Tribune, along with 35 additional titles. Big news for those who are interested in Utah. You know, I realize it's kind of hard to read on the screen here. So if you're interested in a particular state, there's a link in this presentation to the map, and you can take some time and really look through what's most important to you. In California, big state, lots of sources. Now we have the Sunnyvale Sun, that is a core part of Silicon Valley, and reporting there on the major tech hub. Lots of interest in acquiring this exclusive title to our California offerings. Now we're going to shoot across the country, head up to New Jersey. And here we have just added the South Jersey Times. That's another exclusive. And now popping over to Georgia, our 2026 collection features almost 200 hyperlocal Georgia news sources, with 17 of those available in a daily image format. We've also digitized 7 historical archives in Georgia. And while it does span all major areas, the Atlanta Journal is one of the largest. It dates back to 1883. And our historical archive collection in Georgia is truly unequaled. We'll talk more about historical archives in just a moment. But again, numbers are one thing, but the real impact here that I like to focus on is the human impact. Stories so often start locally, then they may catch the attention of regional, national, even global outlets. But after the big national news dies down or they're on to another story, it's the local reporters that are still covering the community after that national news leaves. And I really know this as someone who lives on the Gulf Coast of Florida. No one's hearing about hurricanes right now in the national news, but I can assure you that there are local stories here weekly about ongoing insurance issues, rebuilding, impacts on restaurants perhaps that we're finally able to reopen. In fact, I just saw this week, or maybe even today, one of our major fishing piers that's really popular with vacationers. This is a big vacation time in Florida, is about to reopen. So for people who are visiting Florida, that's something that they want to know. And so we have that local coverage. So whether in your community it's hurricanes, wildfires, water pollution, immigration, education issues, again, these are the community stories that are impacting you and your neighbors and local businesses. And it works the other way too, how a community localizes a national story. You can see here's an example from the Akron Beacon Journal, where they interviewed 2 Akron natives remembering Jesse Jackson. So again, there are the stories that start nationally, political policies, tariffs, etc. And the way the communities cover it is really important to tell the complete story and to show that human impact. So that hyper-local coverage and that regional depth is a huge part of what makes NewsBank different. Every US state and territory is represented, from major cities to hometown coverage, so you have that true record of the news of the day, not just the big flashy national headlines. So I'm going to pause for a moment. Some of you may or may not be familiar with some of the vocabulary that we use internally. Every company has it. So NewsBank Collections is made up of multiple content types, reflecting really how news has evolved, particularly in the digital age. And in NewsBank, we have many source types. And so primarily what you'll hear us refer to a text. That's ASCII, that clean, searchable article, plain text. We also have PDF or image editions. That's the full page, the layout of a day in a PDF form. You see the headline, the photos, graphics, the surrounding context like ads. And those have really, really grown in popularity. We're getting a lot of requests from public libraries for these, but we're seeing more and more even from academic libraries as well. And then we have web content. These are things like blogs, transcripts. We have radio transcripts, other digital first formats. And some news now may be only in a digital format. So it may not have made it into the paper, but it is on the news website. So we bring that all together because we know that different users prefer different experiences. You can see kind of how it all comes together on your screen. The headline is "Red Tape Ties Up Green Rollout." So you can see what a front page PDF looks like, what it looks like in ASCII text, and as a web article. And that approach, how we bring it all together, is what we call integrated collections. And it's kind of a best of all worlds approach. And it's really, that's the value of aggregated news. It's multiple perspectives in multiple formats from multiple locations and multiple types. So let's put some numbers behind what you're getting in 2026. Over the course of this year, as we said, roll-in content, so it's going to be coming out throughout the year, we expect 300 new sources to be added. And now that depends on the collection that you subscribe to. So 300 in 2026, that's in addition to more than 600 titles that we added in 2025. So again, depending on what subscription you're on, it could be thousands and thousands of sources. So for a grand total in 2026, we will have 15,000 sources in Access World News Research Collection for 2026. We anticipate adding 150 more of those image editions. Those are those PDF image editions I just mentioned. And of those 150, half are US sources and the other half are international sources. We're adding hundreds of non-English or bilingual sources, including French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So that breaks down to about 200,000 new articles every day are added. That's 2.3 articles every second. So how is that for some ongoing momentum? What does that mean for you? So for public libraries, what we're hearing is it's supporting the day-to-day community questions and needs, whether it's local issues, workforce development, small business research, civic engagement, genealogy, local history, and that trustworthy coverage when an event hits home. Academic libraries, we hear it's strengthening research across disciplines, especially powerful for building critical thinking, comparing coverage, tracing narratives across time, and exploring multiple perspectives with deep historical context. And I can't think of a resource that supports more curricular areas or just interest areas than NewsBank. Okay, I want to transition now to something that's incredibly important, and honestly, it's time sensitive. It is. It's something we are getting a lot of questions about and hearing a lot about, and that's digital historical newspaper archives. At NewsBank, we want to help you. We want to help preserve that community history, save you time, save your librarians time, and provide access to more people and help deepen your research offerings. And historical archives create value in so many ways. You can really turn those archives into experiences and help with programming, whether it's genealogy and family history, helping to answer local reference questions, empower student projects and academic research, and really helps to strengthen that civic memory, what happened when and how it was covered. And one thing that I'm hearing more and more about, and it's fun, it's local sports, especially around like class reunion times. People love to look up how their teams did. So lots and lots of uses and programming uses. We're also hearing a lot about microfilm. It's been pretty consistent across the board. Digital, it just offers so much more. We mentioned saving time. It saves time for users and for the reference librarians. Searches can go from being pretty cumbersome and hours long perhaps to minutes and even seconds. In fact, there's no limit to the number of users. With that remote access, people can log in anytime. I love this picture. It really captures the sentiment, the lower picture here. If you take a look at it, you can see on top of the reader, it says that there's a 30-minute time limit when others are waiting. Well, with digital, that barrier is gone. And also it just makes it really easy to cite, to share, to save, just a click of the button. And again, it saves time and some of that aggravation. People just love it. Once they get into those historic archives, it's captivating, and they stay and they come back. And the other thing that we're hearing is that microfilm is deteriorating. Readers are aging. Those repairs get expensive, and a lot of younger patrons, they just don't use it. So we know building that digital archive, it's a big investment. We know it. But it's also one of those rare investments that supports nearly every part of the library's mission: access, stewardship, education, community connection. So when it comes to funding, we want to partner with you. We want to come up with some strategies that make it doable, whether it's phasing things in, planning, helping with grants, working with local partners, helping frame the project so that it's really seen by everyone as being mission critical. So if you have felt like acquiring a historical archive was out of reach, I urge you, please have a fresh conversation with us. We have worked through all sorts of situations and come up with some really practical solutions that are doable for libraries and institutions of all sizes and budgets. And we hear powerful feedback from all of our customers. An example that we heard from a public library was that the newspaper and the microfilm was a key connection to the community. We know that, we hear that. But the microfilm readers were failing, lookups are time consuming, access was limited on site, and moving to that digital archive meant they could provide remote access and the complete local newspaper archive, support multiple users at once without the bottleneck. An academic library told us that digital historical archives support that primary source learning, helping students engage with history through authentic reporting that's quickly searchable, citable, and usable in their coursework. And again, everyone says that their usage skyrockets. It's one of the most used resources. And when I mentioned partnership, this relates really to any questions that you might have. Ask us. We want to help get creative with you. Recently, we heard we created some regional collections of historical archives for university systems. They were interested in a collection of several newspaper archives. For example, one was from the breadbasket of America. Another we created for the Great Northwest, one with all of the titles in Texas. I mentioned Georgia. So if there's something that is specific to your area or your region, ask us. Let's see what we can do together. Another example, in public libraries, several have found or rediscovered what they thought was some lost film from their archives, and we've worked to help add that to the collection. So it's worth a fresh conversation. We're producing about 1 million pages of historical newspaper archives a month. So we're growing. We can help you. Let us know. I'm going to pause here for a moment. Drop in the chat if you would. If you're interested in a conversation about historical archives, just a yes, or I'm interested in HAs, thumbs up, whatever is fine. And I'll pause. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have now covered the big picture of Access World News 2026, the growing historical collections. Now I'm going to transition into another area that's growing, and that is our Life in America collection for 2026. Life in America, it started about 4 years ago with the launch of Black Life in America, and it was incredibly successful. We're so proud of it. And since then, with your feedback, we've expanded, and now it includes Hispanic life in America, Asian life, Indigenous life, LGBTQ+ life in America. And right now, we are announcing our newest edition that really builds on that momentum, which is Immigrant Life in America. I don't have to tell you how timely this subject is, but what I will say is this: for libraries, it is the exact kind of resource that supports informed communities, deeper learning, and thoughtful research across perspectives and across eras. What makes these collections so useful, we've gotten the perspective from some public librarians that Life in America really supports that community learning and civic conversations, local history, family research, and programming. These are great for programmings around Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Women's History Month. If you're having a book group, you can pull out cultural events. It really gives patrons that trustworthy context around current issues and perhaps how they were covered in the past. On the academic side of things, again, primary source-based assignment support, information literacy, source comparison, and interdisciplinary work, and again, history, sociology, political science, education, public health, women's studies, you name it, American studies. It is really, the collection really supports so many areas. And one feature that makes the Life in America collection different, and I'm going to call it out, is the suggested searches. You take a look at your screen, it looks like this when you log in. Each Life in America resource includes suggested searches that help people quickly find curated content that's organized by historical eras, themes, topical areas, and major events. It's really great for everyone, but it's especially helpful for users who may not necessarily know the right keywords yet. So this is really a built-in research on-ramp, helps reduce friction, and helps people really pinpoint content faster. And if you would like to go deeper into how to use suggested searches and learn more about the Life in America collection overall, I recommend, we just finished a webinar training session. There is a recording of it. I just did it with my colleague, Jim Draper. He is actually who was the creator, the content creator, and the brain behind these products. He is a wealth of information. I think India has a link, and she can put it in the chat. So you guys can reference it. Feel free to watch that to learn more and go deeper into the Life in America collections. Now, let's talk about the newest edition, Immigrant Life in America. Immigrant Life in America helps patrons better understand the experience of millions of people who chose to make America their new home. And it brings together immigrant-related news coverage from the early 18th century all the way up to the present day. We're constantly adding every day. The content is sourced from more than 20,000 American and global news sources, and it starts with colonial settlers all the way to the expansion of the immigration and customs enforcement and beyond. So what's in it? The sources cover categories such as arts and entertainment, activism, government, court cases, sports, religion, unrest, science and technology, education, society, culture, notable people, and among each topic, the articles within there reflect varied perspectives. And that means that users can really explore how immigration has been covered at different points in US history, how language and framing has changed over time. And this is something that students and often younger people find fascinating, is how language has changed. What language was used in the newspapers 30 years ago versus today? That's a great way to grab interest, get people into it, and then they want to keep going and learning more. It also shows how policies, communities, and cultures have intersected, and then again, that national and local connection of stories. And again, for libraries, this supports critical thinking, comparing viewpoints, discussion around the historical record, and helping patrons and students really navigate these complex topics with context and credibility. And context and credibility is really a core piece of our mission, and that's to help libraries serve as stewards of information and gateways to deeper understanding. So that's 2026 Life in America, and with the Immigrant Life in America now available, we are expanding that lens even further. Okay, a quick drink. I said at the beginning it was going to be a lot of information. I know. I quickly want to move into two areas that are recent additions that you may not be aware of. The first is our new military collection, so cool and unique. What's included here is it's NewsBank's America's Military Collection. That's the official name. And it integrates more than 200 military sources into a single, easy-to-use interface. So it's seamless access to current articles, historical news coverage from some really key publications. And you can see just a few on your screen. There's 200, but it includes the Air Force Times, Army Times, Defense News, Federal Times, Marine Corps Times, and Navy Times. And it was created for active, retired, reserve military personnel, but really others with an interest in military news and information. The deep back files and the broad coverage of these key sources make this collection invaluable if you're researching, if you're military personnel, professors, teachers, students, and in the general public. So let me know if you're interested. We'd be happy to set up a personalized demonstration for you and answer any specific questions. If you want to drop in, I'm interested in the chat, we'll follow up with you. Now for our genealogy update. Genealogy, it's still one of the most popular topics and resources for public libraries, but certainly of interest to many types of users. Our resource is HeritageHub, and this collection has expanded in a big way. We recently added more than 27,000 notices from funeral homes. So now we have thousands of new death notices that are added every day. And about 80% of those come from funeral homes and 20% now are coming from newspapers. We worked on a big back file, about 5 million funeral home notices going back to 2019 were recently added, and millions more of newspaper death notices going back to 1998 were added. And this is really important because I'm sure you've noticed this, that obituaries have become less frequent in newspapers. They just have. Funeral home notices are available digitally, and they're more on demand because they're easy to share. You can email them, post them on social media. So people just aren't paying to put them in newspapers as often. And NewsBank recognized that. We know that our customers and genealogists are still interested in that information because it's so rich in personal stories and details. So NewsBank has now licensed with those 27,000 and growing funeral homes to get those funeral home notices. So what that means now is HeritageHub has coverage from all US states and territories, including the District of Columbia, centuries of digitized historical newspaper content, and thousands of new records from newspapers and funeral homes are added every day. So I know this is exciting too. Again, let us know if you're interested, and your NewsBank representative will get back to you. You can just type in genealogy and we'll know that's what you're interested in. Okay, we covered some major areas today. 2026 brings more content and you'll see it all year long. Again, with this rolling content, Access World News Research Collection and America's News keeps evolving. The sources are cleared and added so that your library stays current without waiting for that single annual release. And you're also gaining flexibility for different research styles with that integrated text, image editions, web content, and again, it is all responsibly sourced. Digital newspaper archives. We've heard you. Time is of the essence. We're here to partner with you to preserve local history beyond microfilm and help strengthen those research assets. Our Inclusive Life in America 2026 collection now includes Immigrant Life in America. We shared quick updates on our new military collection and the expanded HeritageHub, now with funeral home notices and records. And, you know, it's a lot, but I think it's really important for all of us. You know, it's important from time to time to pause and really take a look at our resources and our investments and evaluate where there are gaps, what's new, what's needed. So, you know, a few next steps that you may want to consider. Talk to your NewsBank rep. Double check what collection your library currently subscribes to, how to upgrade to 2026 and fill in those information gaps. For historical archives, again, have a fresh conversation. See how we can partner together. What questions do you have? We're happy to put together a complimentary, customized conversation for your library, district, consortia. Let us know, and we will tailor it for your needs. This slide right here, it has some popular contact information on it. So when you're thinking about this later, you don't have to go back to our website and hunt around. I recommend downloading the presentation now so you have these links. It's easy to get to. One I'm going to call out that we haven't talked about yet is the marketing and resource centers. If you're a customer and haven't checked out our marketing and resource centers, I highly recommend it. All sorts of information in there. We have ready to use social media graphics, newsletter articles and ideas, graphics you can use, bookmarks to print out. We want to help you promote your resources. I'm glad to see so many questions and comments are coming into the chat. Keep them coming. We do read all of them. Let us know, how can we customize future conversations and demonstrations with you? Let us know. Type it in and the correct NewsBank rep will respond. As you leave today, a quick survey will pop up. Please take a moment. Let us know what you thought about this session. Let us know how we can improve. And thank you. Thank you for taking time to walk through what's new in NewsBank 2026 with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.